Could 2025 be a very special year for Hedera? I think so, because HBAR reaching the price of $3, that really wouldn't surprise me whatsoever, even though that's not financial advice. Now, I want to start off by saying how I don't have a magic crystal ball to tell the future, even though that'd be pretty cool. But again, I don't have that. However, what I do have is a logical and reasonable mindset. And based off of that, I can make a logical hypothesis based off of history, because I've taken a look at this. Because if we take a look at it, historically speaking, altcoins as a worst case scenario, they usually peak around a year and a half, aka around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. Now, the last Bitcoin halving event we all know happened back in April of 2024. So 18 months from then is actually around October of 2025. So if you think about that, sometime this year, altcoins could really have a special move, and I think HBAR could very well be one of the leading ones out there, because not only has it done very well, much like I predicted, by the way, but I think better days are ahead. Now, people may be thinking, okay, can't things happen a little bit earlier, a little bit later? Sure, history doesn't always repeat itself. However, again, this has been a pretty good benchmark, at least historically speaking. And even if we take a look at a very reputable individual, someone who's very known in this crypto space, we take a look at Charles Hoskinson, the co-founder of Ethereum and the founder of Cardano. He does predict that based on a video that he was a part of back in November of 2024, in the next 1 to 2 years, he could very well see Bitcoin reaching anywhere between $250,000 all the way up to $500,000. Now, $500,000, could that be way too optimistic? Yeah, I think so. But then let's say we take a hypothetical scenario, like a make-believe scenario here, right? Let's say we use Charles, his worst case price prediction, $250,000 for Bitcoin, and his best case time frame, which is a year from November of 2024. So that's around November of this year. Let's say that happens. Let's say, again, hypothetically, Bitcoin were to go to $250,000 during this year. At that point, HBAR at the price of $3 may seem a little bit bearish, in my opinion at least. Now, again, Charles, much like me, we both hypothetically don't have a magic crystal ball to tell the future, but then still, we can make some reasonable deductions here. And again, I think that this could be a very special year, because as the old saying goes, a high tide raises all ships. If Bitcoin does very well, I think hypothetically HBAR is going to follow. And why wouldn't Hedera be a big narrative? You got to think about this. People think that blockchain gaming is a big narrative. I do too. People like layer one blockchains, they like DeFi projects, NFT projects, but this one is so special. Hedera hash graph is a directed acyclic graph. Now, that's a DAG for short, like the acronym DAG, but even besides that point, why is this so special? It just has better benefits over traditional blockchain technology. Blockchain technology is amazing, and it's going to continue to do well in the future, but then Hedera Hashgraph just takes things to a whole nother level. You know what I mean? Much faster, much more scalable. As a matter of fact, Hedera's native services can reliably scale up to 10,000 transactions per second, not to mention as well, improved data storage. And if you think about it, why is a directed acyclic graph so fantastic? It's just because I think that fundamentally from the ground up, it just has much better qualities that layer one blockchains, or should I say just like blockchains in general, they sometimes don't have this. You know what I mean? So the way you take a look at it is that foundationally speaking, a directed acyclic graph is just much more fantastic than traditional blockchain technology. Again, nothing necessarily wrong with that. But then the way you take a look at it is that this is just the next step. You know what I mean? I get it. A lot of homes, they're built out of wood. That's great. But then can you build like a skyscraper out of wood? Now, allegedly, there has been some buildings made out of wood. But then if you take a look at, for instance, the Empire State Building, you take a look at buildings in New York, they usually use what? Like steel, concrete, right? So the way you take a look at it is that blockchain technology, that's like building using wood. There's nothing wrong with that. But then if you take a look at something like a directed acyclic graph, it's like using concrete. It's like using steel. It's just the next evolution. You want to build skyscrapers, 100 floors or whatever? I don't know if you could do that with wood. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's just my perspective. So the way I view it is that Hedera Hashgraph is absolutely wonderful. Now, people may be saying, okay, Hedera doesn't have good activity. Take a look at the statistics. Oh, wow, it's not even doing this, not doing that. But who cares? Because if you think about it, it doesn't necessarily mean that Hedera can't handle a lot of transactions or whatever like that, or a lot of activity. It's just not seeing that much of it as of right now. But that's not necessarily bad news, because during the fully fledged bull run, people care about the narrative. They don't care about current adoption. If they cared so much about current adoption, then something like BNB or Solana wouldn't really pop off. You know what I mean? They have a good ecosystem, but it's mostly retail projects. And if you take a look at, for instance, Solana, it's primarily known for meme coins. It doesn't have good adoption, but it has good anticipated adoption. And I think Hedera has good anticipated adoption as well. And I think it's going to be a big narrative, again, during this bull run. HBAR has done very well, much like I predicted, by the way. I haven't been wrong so far, but I think better days are ahead. Now, keep in mind, people sometimes, I've seen in some cases, they like XRP just solely because of the fact that Brad Garlinghouse is leading Ripple, which is kind of crazy to see sometimes because like, okay, wow. But then when you take a look at Hedera, its governing council, and this is not a joke, by the way, it's a verifiable fact, and there's actually around 39 members, or should I say precisely 39. But even besides that, you take a look at their governing council, Google. We all know that we're using YouTube as of right now. Take a look at, for instance, LG. You take a look at Dell Technologies, Boeing. I mean, come on, Boeing is massive. Take a look at Mondelez. Now, people may think, okay, what is Mondelez? But you take a look at their brands. What does it include? Oreo. You take a look at Cliff, like, the Cliff Bar. I'm personally not a big fan of the Cliff Bar. I like Oreo a lot better. Probably got to cut down on that type of stuff, right? Personally for me. But even besides that, I do believe that this is a very fantastic governing council. Now, there's also a bunch of others, but people are probably going to get bored if I said everything. But even besides that, this has good perceived leadership. I mean, just take a look at this, right? What is better, those enterprises or Brad Garlinghouse? I mean, come on. That's not even a contest. I get it. Brad Garlinghouse is this resilient individual who had to go through a lot of random nonsense, especially with Ripple and the SEC, all that type of stuff. But even despite that, he's no match for like even, let's say, a Boeing leadership or Google, or let's say Mondelez. Come on. That's just the way I take a look at it, logically speaking. So perceived good leadership, this could matter during a fully fledged bull run. And Hedera has that going for it. It has the unique technology that's very revolutionary. It has the perceived leadership. It has good fundamentals. And also on top of that, HBAR has great exposure, listed in a bunch of major exchanges. So if I take a look at this is pretty much a recipe for success, in my opinion. Now, this is all speculative, but imagine if HBAR were to go to the price of $3. Considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $115 billion. Not so bad. We've seen Ethereum reach around $550 billion back in 2021. We've seen something like BNB reach over $100 billion also back in 2021. And keep in mind, at that time, the crypto space wasn't that poppin', really. Because even during the peak of that bull run, there was roughly only around 300 million crypto owners. Now, according to Crypto.com research, there's over 600 million. Not to mention, you take a look at the positive sentiment for the Bitcoin ETF, also the Ethereum ETF, the number of institutional investors, the amount of enterprise adoption is just through the roof. So I think this bull run could be a lot better. And again, HBAR at the price of $3 during this bull run wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. I think it's that fantastic. And I think 2025 could very well be a special year, which is why I'm still staying patient, anytime in income, acquiring, holding, and just waiting, because I think better days are ahead. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's Mali the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.